Hello, everyone. I am honored to welcome my guest, Doc Jen Fit. Now, most of you guys recognize her from Instagram, doing headstands on walls and acrobatics and doing crazy stuff that makes me have goosebumps sometimes when I watch all your crazy stunts, but they are absolutely amazing. You love being active, don't you? Safe assumption?
Yeah, very safe assumption. It's literally like my meditative state is going upside down. Like people ask me, like, how do you like to relax? I'm like, in a handstand.
I love that. I love doing handstands too. I'm going to show you some of my videos after. I'm not as experienced as you are, but I've been doing it for a while, so I have a couple tricks up my sleeve. But I love it. So Jen, tell us a little bit about you. You are such a beautifully dynamic person, and there's just so many different aspects of your strengths and your talents and your wisdom. Can you tell my guests, if they don't know of you, which I'm sure most of them do, a little bit more about yourself?
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I'm a doctor of physical therapy out here in LA, and my social media following, I guess, just kind of started to grow on accident through fitness, through what I was showing within my body, through calisthenics, because I competed in calisthenics. Then I started learning acro yoga and all these different things. Once I graduated, I was like, I want people to know that I actually have some information about the body, not
Yes.
just what I can do with my body. So I started educating. And through that, that's really where I even started to step away from the clinic. I started to learn even more. And then I started to create programs on how people can actually help themselves and get into their own bodies. Because as a healer, as a physical therapist, I'm not the one who's going to fix you.
Yeah.
You are the only one who can fix you. So if I can facilitate that pathway of how you can get into your body, that is like my life goal.
I love that. And you're so passionate about it. And I love that you're so dedicated towards it. And I love your online challenge. If you don't mind, I would love to tell my guests about it because it is absolutely amazing, you guys. She has a free challenge and she's going to teach you all about your body and help you assess what's going on. You're going to learn where your biggest restrictions are, how to improve your mobility, relieve pain. How many of you guys are tired of living in pain and aches? And just help you optimize your movement patterns and get in alignment. And you guys know me, I talk about this all the time. Alignment, mind, body, soul, business, and relationships are my main pillars. And so I just absolutely love everything Jen's doing because she helps empower people to get in alignment. So if you guys are interested in trying out her free challenge, head to docjenfit.com/challenge. DocJenFit.com/challenge. And she's going to, you just put in your name, your email. She's going to email you a bunch of free videos. Now, if you guys want to go see Jen, you're going to have to pay to come into her clinic. She is a doctor. She's educated and she is just so knowledgeable. However, she is giving this information away for free. So you guys definitely got to check that out. It's absolutely amazing. And would you tell us a little bit more about your program and how people can find you?
Yeah, Doc Jen Fit on all things. I've kept it across the board. So on my website, my Instagram, my Facebook, YouTube, it's all Doc Jen Fit. It's the easiest way to find me. And through my programs, I've really created step-by-step approach of how you can get back into your body. And the only way to do that isn't by having a one-size-fits-all, because I don't believe in that. Like, everyone is different. How we assess our business, how we take care of our bodies, what we put in our bodies, it's all unique. And so understanding how uniquely different and beautiful your body is first and foremost most important. So my mobility method actually takes you through your self-assessment so that you can find where your restrictions are. And that's what the challenge is for, really, is like just to learn how to start assessing yourself, learn to how to start putting a program that works for your individual body for you together. Because the thing is, it's like, everyone's like, well, I have back pain. What do I do? I'm like, well, it depends.
Yeah.
Which is like the typical answer and what everyone hates. But the reality is there is no one size fits all for any kind of pain, any kind of diagnosis. Even I don't care if you bring me your MRI, you give me your x-ray, I'm still going to be like, cool, thank you for showing me your symptom. But now how do we actually get to the cause? And so that's really where the programs are going to take you back into understanding your body, becoming more aware of your body, and learning what you need for your own individual body.
I love that. And I'm excited to deep dive into that. I wanted to chat with you about Instagram first, because that's kind of where I met you. I mean,
Yeah.
you've been able to accumulate over 500,000 followers, and your engagement is insane. It's so high. What have you done to grow your social media?
Consistency. I'm going to say that's the number one thing. But really, it was listening to my audience from the very beginning. When I was starting to get into social media, it was really by accident. My handle was actually Jen_ES_care, because that's how you say my name,
Yeah.
which is so funny. And it became this kind of rise through fitness. And so I got involved with the calisthenic community and started competing with them and all of that. And they would post me. And so eventually, like, people just started to come to my page and kind of follow what I was doing. And I was like, oh, people are wanting to see my calisthenic journey. Maybe I should just post that. And so that's what I started to really promote and push. And not really even promote. I wasn't promoting anything except my hobby, which was for fun because I was in grad school at the time. And so it was really just like, okay, people want to see my journey. People want to know what I'm learning within my body. People want to see my fitness. So I'm going to continue to post that. And so that's what I started to do. And then once I graduated, it was like, okay, I want people to know that I actually have a little knowledge here. I went to school forever, became a doctor. So I want to show how I can start educating within the body. And so I changed my handle to Doc Jen Fit, and I started posting educational videos. And that's where I got way more of an influx of people coming in and looking. And that's what really took off from my social media. And that's what I really appreciated. It was like, okay, people can look at what I'm doing and say, oh, that's cool, or looks amazing, or be inspired. But what was even more motivating to me, and what kept me consistently wanting to share, is that people were coming because they wanted to learn about their own bodies. They wanted the education. And so the more that I pushed the education, the more that I started to grow. And so it was like, okay, people like this kind of education. I'm going to continue to push into that. And it was like this natural thing that I just started listening and pushing, listening and creating for people. And it was even, this is how I've become like the mobility queen, if I, like, people call me, is because when I would post videos, it usually started at the foundation always, which was mobility. And then I would go into the injury based on corrective exercises and strength training and biomechanics and all of that. But those videos never did as well as my mobility videos. For some reason, everyone loved to come to me and see, how can I improve my mobility? How can my mobility start to get me out of pain? And which was great, because that is the foundation. That is where I started from all the time. I even had a video one time, and I thought it was like the silliest little thing. I was like, well, I just need to post on lower body stretches, so I'm going to create this flow on the ground. It was literally after I was working a full, like, 8-hour day in a physical therapy office and just needed to post something. So I posted this. All of a sudden, it went viral on Instagram. It got over 1 million views.
Wow.
And I grew 40,000 followers that week.
Wow. What was this video exactly?
It was literally just me posting a lower body mobility flow, which is still out there. And I think I've posted it a few times now because people love it. And it's a different way to be able to get into the stretches and mobility within your body, while hitting both passive and active ranges of motion to really relieve your muscle tension, open up your range of motion, and really just feel better, which hips are our access point. It's our midpoint. If you're not moving good within your hips, you can get tightness in the back, or knee pain, or feet pain, or anything else. Like your hips are where we should be moving and bending from. So if we're not, then it goes into other places within the body. And so I think it was a combination of everything. And I didn't boost it. I didn't share it for other people to put it out there. It was literally an organic thing. I had friends of mine calling and being like, did you buy followers? And I'm like, no.
I love that. So what I'm hearing, and kind of one of the things that I noticed about you, and I kind of broke it down into 5 different chunks, is number one, and how you've grown your social media. This is from what I heard from you and just what I've noticed, is you couple knowledge with visual. So I talk about this a lot in my mastermind. I have a weekly mastermind course where I jump on the phone and do Zoom every single week, which I'd love to have you on as well. We have guest speakers on. I teach people how to grow their brand, their social media, etc. And then I also do one-on-one coaching. We have hot seats. It's absolutely amazing. My community is all coaches and entrepreneurs, and they are just wonderful human beings. So I'd love to invite you into that as well. But, and we just talked about this is I said, guys, when you want to grow your social media, you aim to either entertain, educate, or inform. And if you can, you want to do all of them. Like my social media strategy, if you guys watch me on Instagram, which by the way, y'all should be following me and Jen. And if you're not, I want you guys to head to Instagram right now, because I know you guys are on your phone. Jen's Instagram is at DocJenFit, DocJenFit, and mine is Brittany Michalchuk at BrittanyMichalchuk. And one of the things I love is that you integrate education and entertainment. And that's what I always try and do. I always try and do crazy stuff, standing on my handstands, doing all kinds of like stunts and bird tricks and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I also try and educate people on how to live better lives, grow their social media. So I love that you do that. You mesh the visuals and the knowledge. The second thing I noticed that you do is you know your niche's pain points, like physically, metaphorically, and mentally, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and I'm a really big believer in this is in order to grow your brand and build that know, like, trust brand, you have to understand what keeps your target demographic up at night. What are they struggling with? What gives them goosebumps? And you have hit the nail on the head so perfectly. So I love that your content revolves around your target demographic's pain points. The third thing that I notice is you know what type of education to promote to your audience. Like you have those split videos where you'll have it highlighted with the body in red, the pain points. You'll do it live. And so you've created your own unique content that people know what they're getting when they come to your page. And the last thing, the fourth thing that you've done really well is you've listened to your audience. And so you're in the DMs. You are creating, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're creating polls and questions or things on your story, asking people, what do you want to learn about? What are you struggling from? What can I do to add value? And so I love that you make it look effortlessly. Is it like, honestly, is it challenging? I mean, for me, I spend so much time with my social media. It's not effortless. Like I have to spend a lot of work doing it. What is your take on it?
It definitely takes work. I mean, especially when I was, but also realize that the majority of my growth happened when I was actually working full-time as a physical therapist. And on the side of working full-time as a physical therapist, I was taking my own clients on the side as well at a CrossFit. So I was working in my clinic, learning and mentoring, then going to a CrossFit, taking on my own clients to see, okay, can I take this and separate it from the clinic? And then on the side of that, I was still saying, okay, what educational videos can I be posting? Yes. What am I listening to? What people are asking for and what they need? So that I literally I would get clothes and stuff from different workout outfits and fitness gear and stuff. So I would give them to one of my aides and be like, can you video me every week? I'll gift you with free clothing. And if you just, continue to shoot some of my videos. And so at the end of my workday, she would shoot some of my videos. I would either give her like fitness gear or take her through a free workout or whatever it may be. So I felt like there was a energy exchange where I wasn't just trying to take, but I was actually giving as well, so that I can continue to provide for my audience. And that was the most important thing is like, okay, if I'm actually educating and wanting people to continue to see this education, I have to stay consistent with it. So although it's work, it was fun. Yeah. It was really fun. It was something I looked forward to, and it still is. I will admit, I now go like maybe 1 or 2 days without posting, and I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. The world's going to be okay. But when I was like consistently really growing, it was every single day, if not twice a day, because especially now with the algorithm, it's all over the place. You don't know who's actually going to see you. So the more that you can get out there, the more that you can push your message so much that you think it's so redundantly like people are annoyed by you, they have to keep hearing it over and over again because you don't know how many times they're even seeing it. So that's why I don't mind doing podcasts. I don't mind talking on different lives and continuing to push my message of mobility over and over and over again, because at some point it's going to click for someone who maybe doesn't see it as much or whatever it may be. And just like you said with the split screen, like I talk about social media like that a lot in terms of it is a billboard. Social media is a billboard. What is going to catch the attention?
Me too. I call the New York Times billboard ad space.
Yes, it really is. But you're not paying to get your message across. But unless it looks like a billboard, it's not going to be out there. And that's why I use things like, here's the pain point. Because I know, if someone's having shoulder pain, they're going to look at that and say, and they're going to actually watch the video or swipe through the videos or whatever it may be to see, okay, I have this going on. How can I actually fix it? And so it's, I usually get more saves than likes, which is crazy. I'm always like, why can't you just like it at the same time you're saving it? But, but I get so many of that because people are actually wanting to integrate that into their lives. And that's how I know that it's more effective. That if you're saving it because you actually want to implement this, then I know that I'm headed in the right direction. And what did I do for this video that is going to translate over? And it's the same way that women, if we're wearing less clothes, it's going to get more views. Like it's social media, sex sells. It is a thing. So how can I make my videos look more attractive? How can I make them stand out more? Maybe I do need the words underneath and transcribing every single one so that people can follow along with the captions or read along. Like what is going to make your video stand out? Or your photos stand out? How are you going to capture them in the first 3 seconds of a video? Like I have a lot of friends too, where they'll spend the first 5 seconds introducing themselves or have a really long photo before it goes into the video. And I'm like, you lost me. You lost me. You probably lost a lot of other people.
You get 5 seconds to prove yourself on social media. 5. And if you can't engage your audience in the first 5 seconds and you tell them what they're going to learn or add value in the first 5 seconds and you're selfish and you're making it about you, you will lose people.
100%. Yep. Totally
so
agree.
True. I loved it. I love that you touched on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, it's like social media, consistency is key. Number one, listening to your audience, asking your audience, not being afraid. And then really like, how are you capturing it in terms of making sure that it's attractive to the eye? It is a billboard that's going to stand out and play into social media a little bit. It is a billboard, right? So am I going to say that this one exercise is going to heal your shoulder pain? No, but can it add awareness? And so that now you'll start listening to my messaging and maybe you'll start following along later down the road, get into my free challenges, and maybe you'll want to take action into your body. And it might take a little while, but if I can capture you by speaking into social media, speaking into what you want to learn, and I know that might be a little superficial at first, hopefully I can start to capture you later down the road into the deeper rooted, like where it really counts kind of stuff. And also why I'm not going to lie, like most of my videos are going to be in a sports bra and leggings. Like,
girl, do you? I look like that, I would too.
But that's the thing, like
body, and all my listeners are gonna go to Instagram, hit you up on IG, and be like, "Well, no, happy relationship," but they're gonna go admire your hard work. Like you got it going on.
Thank you. But that's also part of like, playing into the image of social media. You understand it to a certain point. I'm not trying to, do sex sells, but I'm also going to say, okay, what's going to make you look at my page so that you'll maybe hopefully learn about your own body.
I am so happy you just said that because so many women bullshit. And they're like, oh, no, I don't ever want to like wear a sports bra. You know what? Guess who's making a lot of money off their Instagram? Guess who's growing their Instagram? It's people that are understanding what works, being classy. Me and you aren't out there like posting in like thongs with like on our bed. Like that's not what I'm saying is okay. I mean, you do you, whoever people are listening to this, but I'm saying that at the same time, I mean, I'm going to speak for us, but we understand what works and we understand how the algorithm works. And we also are not going to live in denial and be like, oh, I think people want to see me wearing like a winter jacket doing handstands on the beach. You know what I mean? You understand that Instagram is a visual platform. Keep it classy and also make sure that you are creating highly visually appealing photos. I think that's so important. I love that you're honest and say that, because I talk about it and I don't hear many women being like, yeah, you know what? I keep it within the boundaries. And I also understand that, you know, social media is a platform and I want to grow it. And this is how you grow. This is what gets engagement. My point is that you're going to the analytics, you're seeing what gets engagement, and then you're being like, you're building rapport. Like, I love that you talked about how you capture people. You capture people with a visually appealing photo, and then you start building that rapport with that value add and that education.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, and it's continued to transform throughout the years. I've had social media now for like 4 years. And in the beginning, it was like, as soon as people started coming to my page, I was like, oh, okay. So no more selfies. Don't show my face, only show what my body can do. Cause I was so self-conscious and I was so afraid of being judged for my looks or my face or any of the other things that I'm super self-conscious of. So it was like, okay, look at this calisthenic move. Look at this handstand. And though I still do that, it's so now me and I'm not afraid to show who I am and I'm not afraid to show up fully. But that was a process.
I love that. You guys have to go rewind the last 5 minutes and listen to that 3 times, because everything you said, literally you hit the nail on the head. And I absolutely love that. So I think that's also a really common problem that people are challenged with is I work with so many entrepreneurs and coaches. And one of the reasons why I'm always like, guys, create content, create more videos, get your target demographic to know, like, trust you, because in e-com, you buy off impulse. In this realm, in what we do, people buy off emotion. And if you can't build that trust with them, they're not going to buy from you. They're buying you and your results. Like in coaching, they're not buying, are you teaching them once a week? They're not buying, is your program via video or is it via text? They're buying you and your results. And so if they don't trust you, they're not going to buy from you. So I love that you use social media to build rapport. And the other thing is you put time and effort into it. I mean, so many people are like, oh, I want my social media to explode. I want to be a big influencer and I want to make 6 to 7 figures off my social media and do all this stuff. But it's like, yeah, but look at what Jen is doing. Jen puts in how many hours a day into creating high quality content. You are testing, like you get it, girl. Like I talk to so many people about social media. This is my jam. You actually really, really understand it and get it on such a deep level. So thank you. I appreciate your time sharing with my audience. And the thing that I love is that you check and balance yourself. You're like, okay, this works, this doesn't work, this is what goes viral. And I love that you said that you repeated the viral video, because there's 7.5 billion people on this planet. And so many people, they create a video and they're like, oh, I already talked about that, I don't want to create more content about it. But that's what your audience wants to hear. You know, people hear things. People know they should go to the gym. Why aren't they going to the gym? People know they should be positive. Why are they thinking negatively? It's like, we know what we should be doing, but common sense isn't always common practice. So you need to repeat yourself. So I love that you said that. And just that judged component. I think that so many people, they're just scared of seeing themselves. More frankly, they're really scared of the world seeing who they are. And the world, they're scared of letting down their guards and just being authentic and transparent. And I think that that's something that is so powerful that you do, is be vulnerable. And I think that you went through something where you had to speak up and be honest and transparent. And it gives me goosebumps even saying that. But it's like you really had to step in your own power and be like, no matter what happens to me, no matter what forces are going to come up against me, I'm still going to stand in my truth. And regardless of who's right, who's wrong, like all that stuff, what I admire about you is that you actually had the power to speak your truth. And that's something I'm really passionate about. Like, do you ever get scared, like, to speak your truth? Or what was that like, kind of coming out and being like, look, this is what I dealt with?
Oh man. I wasn't scared.
Really?
It definitely, I was scared in a sense of like, I don't know how people are going to react to this, but I wasn't scared to want to share it. Like this was a need that I just felt within me because I had so many people reaching out to me and saying, oh, that happens, that, you know, I've been through it, I don't tell anyone, da, da, da. Like so many people hidden within that same story. So many people still in pain with a very similar story. And so it was like, okay, it is time. And there's so much shame around coming out with, I mean, we'll say it was around unfaithfulness, infidelity, and there's so much shame around that. No matter what side of the coin that you're on, right? It doesn't matter if you were the cheater or the person who got cheated on.
Wow.
There's a lot of shame in that instead of just like realness, openness, vulnerability, and like, hey, listen, human. We're human, and this is the responsibility within which I took. This is the responsibility within how I stayed, and we all get to make our own human choices.
Wow.
So also not taking anything on as personal based on what someone else did or whatever it is, but how am I going to learn the lesson through it? And so for me, it was like something that I knew I had to come out with. What was scary was not knowing how it was going to be received. And the post went incredibly viral, which I had no idea was going to happen. Like that was not my intention at all, was to have something that went viral. My intention was to help those who had been reaching out to me, who had been in a similar story, who have still hung on to the pain, and it was something that they can't move forward with. And I learned early on too, when I was in doing social media years ago, I remember running a challenge with girlfriends, and this particular challenge was the first time I was like stepping into like vulnerability and authenticity, where we did a challenge where it started with post your most insecure part of yourself, or a photo or a photo you would,
that is real stuff, you guys. That is real.
Yeah. And it was like, post something you would never normally post because there's insecurities around it. Now, what are those insecurities? How do they affect you? How do they affect the people around you? And we went through all these series of questions over 7 days. And it was the most engagement I have ever gotten because people actually got to see me. People actually got to experience like, hey, here's a real person. All they saw me before was, oh, look at these cool handstands and cool tricks she can do, and she's so amazing. Yet they didn't know that I really had a lot of insecurities, and I had a lot of doubt and shame within myself that I was putting on myself. And so when I was able to show up in this very open way, people actually connected with that on such a deeper level.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. And so it became like, listen, I'm not going to hide away. We share our story so that people can learn. Because I also don't believe that we have to hit rock bottom in order to rise. You don't have to have failed in a business in order to learn. You might have little failures over time that you get to learn from? Totally. But hopefully you have a mentor or other people or in your mastermind or whatever it may be that you can learn from other people so you don't have to hit rock bottom and you can rise. And that's like, no one came to my Instagram because I went from fat to fit. I've always been fit, like literally my entire life. I've grown up in an active family and been active my entire life. So this body is literally been my body. So we can learn from other people. We can take inspiration from other people if we're open to hearing the stories. And so that's really why I wanted to share.
What has your healing journey been like? I mean, I've been involved in infidelity as well, and it was really challenging for me. And I just remember being like this too shall pass, and uh, that was really important in my healing journey. What was your healing journey like? Like, can you take us through like the emotions of kind of what happened and just what you went through?
You know, I wouldn't want anyone to compare their healing journey to me. I feel so fortunate that I had done a lot of personal development work, a lot
Yes,
of
girl.
emotional intelligence work
Yeah.
leading up to this event. So when this happened and I, found out all these things, I immediately knew this had nothing to do with me. I didn't internalize it and say, what is wrong with me? Why am I not enough? Why am I not pretty enough, not good enough? Like whatever that may be, I knew that had nothing to do with me. So immediately it was like, this is off of me. What did come up was like freedom, because there had been
Wow.
little things that I wasn't listening to within my body that I was saying, no, I just need to learn more. I need to do this more. I need to do that more. And I was like trying to force something that didn't want to fit. And so when that finally came out to the surface, I was like, oh, I can actually trust myself. This
Wow.
uncertainty, this like disengagement with my body. I mean, I got shingles last year. That's how much I was not listening to myself. That's how much I
Mm.
was like disengaging from and trying to force something that wasn't fitting.
Yeah.
And I needed this information to actually validate that I can be heard, that I can be
Yes.
trusted, and that I can actually trust that gut intuition, that soul like within me, that gets to be something that I lead from. And I wasn't. And I believe I did have to go through that experience in order to come
Yes.
back to that, in order to learn. But me being able to share that means you don't have to. Like
Yeah.
that inkling within you, speak up about it. That uncertainty, like pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Or those autoimmune diseases that are happening and flaring up, like listen to it. Your body is always talking to you. And
Yeah.
when something, and it will tell you when something else in your environment is not okay.
There's so much about that hit me and hit me deep. Just about your perspective. Like, I think that's probably one of the most important things to kind of take away from the situation, because the reason why I even touched on it is because I love your perspective on it. Again, not no judgments on anyone's behalf,
Right.
but I love your perspective in it, is being like, the second you found out about the infidelity, you're like, this doesn't have anything to do about with me. Whereas most people, when they go through something similar, they immediately go to, oh, what's wrong with me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think the big takeaway that I heard is, you have to do the inner work on you. So when something
Yeah.
like this happens, because guess what? Life is not fair. Shit
No.
happens.
Yep.
People die. Like, there's so many things that happen that are so
Yep.
painful in life. And the fact that you've done the personal work, you've done the inner work, you've worked on yourself, you've worked on your mindset, you've done the personal development. When a challenge like this arose, you can handle it with grace. You can be like, what did I learn from this? The other thing that I really took away from that is, you said personal accountability.
Mm-hmm.
You're not internalizing me like, what's wrong with me, but you're also being like, how do I not create this situation again in my life? Because a lot of people
Exactly.
are in toxic relationships, so they're not getting what they need or whatever. And I'm not saying that yours was, but I'm just saying a lot of people are in situations and relationships that aren't right for them, and they just keep on co-creating these relationships in their life. And so the
Yeah.
fact that you really took ownership and said, personal accountability to what can I do different moving forward is absolutely beautiful. And I'm not going to lie to you, Jen. I love your new relationship.
Thank you.
It is hashtag couple goals. You guys are absolutely adorable. But I think the reason why you've been able to attract such a loving, whole relationship now is because you handled it with grace and you didn't let it defeat you. Like most people would go through something like that and they go through challenges and it's just like a bulldoze and they just get knocked over. But you got back up and you were like, no matter what happens to me, I'm going to stand in my truth. I'm going to stand in my power. I am going to, go out there and work even harder. Cause come on, if you guys haven't noticed from this interview, Jen is a boss babe that works extremely hard, but you decided to empower yourself instead of disempower yourself. Is that correct in saying? And then how did you empower yourself from this situation and not allow it to absolutely destroy you and ruin your self-confidence? Because most women, this affects their confidence greatly and they just get crushed.
Yeah.
Did that
and
happen to you?
Men can get crushed from that.
Yes, both. And how did you deal with that?
So because I knew that someone else's choices doesn't have to do with me, I think that's what we first get to acknowledge. Like this can even be like the person who is saying you're ugly. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship even. Someone who's putting their own judgments on you, imagine how much they're judging themselves.
Yeah.
So someone else's choices don't have to do with you. Like that is the first thing. Take ownership of your own choices. What were you doing to not to cause someone to do it, but within your own self, what choices were you making? And what were you staying in tune with what's near and dear to your soul and to your heart? And that was the thing that I was disconnecting from. Like, if I'm going to be real with myself, my highest values were not being met. And I was saying, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. And so I was not standing for myself in those. So it was a lot of forgiveness on myself first. And yes, we get to forgive the other party and we get to let go of all that kind of stuff, but you have to forgive yourself as well. And I think that's the main thing. So my thing was, I forgive myself for staying when I know that I could have left earlier. I forgive myself for needing this confirmation in order to leave. I forgive myself for staying in something that I repeated the notion of I am not enough as I am. I need to be more.
Wow.
So I forgive myself for repeating this story and staying in a place that I was telling myself I am not enough. Like, that's on me. So I get to forgive myself for those things. And that's a lot of writing. That's a lot of releasing. That's a lot of crying. That's a lot of, and that's just healing. And that's part of the journey. And I also knew immediately too, because that choice that's another person's choice of what they choose to do and not do. I know for me that I stand in integrity, I stand in honesty, and I stand in truth. And I know that I can find someone else who mirrors those same values. Because if it's within me, it's within someone else as well. And so that's the thing too. It's like, I used to get hardened from situations. My sister went through a past relationship where he was awful human. And I can say this, he was not great. And he definitely had lots of infidelity and other things happening. And I got hardened from that. And I went into everyone's bad, and look at what I created out of that, out of staying in this place of, I can't trust anyone. I stayed in a place of, I can't trust myself.
Yeah.
So rather than do that, because that doesn't help anything, I went into, no, I can trust myself. Look at how right I was. There was some uncertainty happening and I wasn't listening to it. Wow, I can trust my inner intuition. How beautiful is that? Freeing. I literally, sometimes I'm like, I'm a psychic now because I'm calling things before they happen.
I love that. There is so much about that I want to unpack. Wow, that is powerful, you guys. Whoever needed to hear that message, I know it landed on them. And I've literally got goosebumps 10 times this interview. When I know the interviews are good, it's when I get goosebumps 10 times. But yeah, you talked about forgiving yourself. Wow, Jen. Do you, we both, I think, actually, I don't even know if we actually understand how challenging it is for people to forgive themselves. How many people in our lives, and let's do a personal audit for all the listeners. How do you need to forgive yourself in this moment? Like this is a message. This is a question for the listeners. I actually want them to reflect and ask themselves, where in your life do you need to let go and forgive yourself?
I mean, that is such a huge and important question to continue to come back to, and something that I write about myself all the time. Like, where am I forgiving myself? Am I beating myself up because I didn't get to the thing that I said that I was going to get to? Okay, how can I forgive myself, and where can I go into? Because if we're just going to stay in this like self beat up, we're not going to go forward. It's only going to hold us back even more. So in terms of calling in the right partnership, calling in the right business partnership, calling in the right friends or community or whoever you want around you, it comes down to how you're treating yourself. And this internal world is our integrity to take out into the external world. So if you're saying like, I'm going to work out today, and you don't get to it, can you forgive yourself for that and say, okay, how am I going to change this moving forward? Because it's like, how am I showing up for people outside? If I'm not showing up for myself, how am I showing up for other people? And I really believe, in that saying of how we do one thing is how we do everything. And I try to live by that all the time, right? So it comes first in checking in with myself.
That is, wow. I love that you talked about self-love and compassion, because so many people, they just are carrying so much guilt. And a lot of them are just, it's eating them alive. Like, it's just eating people alive. And I just see it, and it's ruining lives. And I think the big takeaway is, how do you love yourself more? Like, you go through challenges, you go through things like infidelity, you go through losing your job, or you go from losing your company and going bankrupt, or you challenge, like, not your challenges are you don't have any clients, and your business is suffering, or maybe your friendships are suffering, or maybe your relationship is suffering. And for you to talk about going back to compassion for yourself is, wow, that is probably one of the biggest takeaways that I've gotten from my life, is being like, no matter what happens, how do I still love myself through this all? Because that confidence is what's going to make or break your life. Like, you look at the most successful people in the world, regardless if you like Donald Trump or not, he's very confident in who he is. I mean, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, like, did you ever meet those people and be like, oh, they seem super insecure in who they are and where they're going?
Sure.
Heck no. Like, they eat, breathe, sleep, like, conviction in their souls. And so I know that comes from a massive place of confidence and believing in yourself. And that confidence stems from self-love, and self-love isn't practiced. It's not talked about. What is practiced and what is talked about though is never being good enough. Like, you don't have that six pack, so you're not gonna have. You don't have that Ferrari and that Lamborghini and that yacht, so you're not gonna have. You don't have that 10 out of 10 relationship. This is literally what's being shoved down our throats, especially on social media. And I'm a big social media advocate, but I also understand it's a double-edged sword. And so we live in a society today where it's just like, we're never good enough. Like, we never are good enough for our, most people feel a lot of pressure from their families, their peers, their clients, their friends, their, lovers. And so I love that you talk about that, because it's so important to just step back and just love yourself in a world where we constantly are pushed to measure up and do better. And especially, like, me and you, we're both high achievers. I mean, we do have this level of pushing ourselves, but I think, and what I've learned is bringing yourself back and being like, yes, we can achieve things. Yes, we can be boss babes and go out there and be successful and live a great life. And how do we love ourselves in the process? Like, can you talk to how you've been able to love yourself, and how the listeners, if they want to be more confident so that they can walk into a room and turn heads? I know I saw you speak at Swanwick's event, and you walked into the room with this confidence. How do you cultivate that confidence?
Practice. Freaking practice, and changing your mindset around the story that you want to believe. So if the story is, you're telling yourself you're scared, you can't do it. Who's going to judge me? What if we just created a different story right there? So what if I started telling myself, no, I got this, like I'm good. Everyone's going to be like so inspired. This is going to be fun. This is like, you're already changing just like your energy within your body. And if you change the energy within yourself, you're going to start to change it out around you, and people are going to feel that. So it really starts with like, how are you talking to yourself? And I had to change that too. Like I said, super insecure when I first got on social media. Now I can be out there, show myself, don't care. And that came with like, okay, how am I talking to myself? I used to get ready and tear myself down all the time. Like, oh, this looks awful, or oh, this is bad, or oh, I'm fat today, or blah, 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 whatever. Then I started noticing, oh, that's actually how other people around me are talking too. So I'm being conditioned that that's okay. It's not okay. And if I want to create a different energy in the world, then I get to create it inside. And that's, again, that going back to the integrity. So I started to write down 2 to 3 things I loved about myself every day.
Wow.
And I actually asked for accountability as well. I said, hey, Mom, if you say anything negative about yourself, I'm going to make you, like, I'm going to stop you. You're going to have to reverse it. And if I say anything negative about myself, can you please stop me and make me reverse that as well? I did that with friends. I still do it with friends. Like, no one's allowed to say anything negative about themselves.
Yeah.
And it's just something that, like, when we start to change our language inside, then we will start to understand and learn how it can change our energy around us. So, and still, like, I grew up as like the shy child. So understanding and learning, I don't have to live into the story. I don't have to be the one waiting for everyone to come up to me. What if I started practicing? How can I go up to someone else and just say hi? Start a conversation. Maybe it's scary at first, but the more that you do it, the more you put yourself out there, the more that you will notice it change. And that's what it's really about. It's really about just starting to put yourself out there, starting to practice it, and starting to shift the stories within ourselves. And I love too that you talked about, compassion, because that's the number one place I go to even when I have clients. So say I have someone with pain. Well, pain is usually, especially what I've noticed with women a lot, is that I don't have time for pain. Why is it here? Why is it here? I don't have time. I have to do this.
Right? It's just a nuisance.
Exactly. Instead of appreciating the pain. If I don't have pain, if I don't have that sensation within my body, then how do I know that there might not be something else deeper happening? How do I know that there's not something else I need to address? How do I know that, it could be radiating from an organ? If my body is not feeling pain, that's bad. So the fact that my body has that alarm system and can tell me when something is not working well, that's a gift.
I love that.
So what if I even started shifting my mindset around pain and the experience and what it was doing for my body, and started appreciating it and saying, thank you. Okay, what can I add into my body that I'm neglecting?
I love that you talk about that being the narrative of your own story. And you get to empower yourself. And so to kind of wrap up, I wanted to talk to you about your current relationship. Do you mind if we go there?
We can go there.
How did you call in and create this magical relationship?
Really started with just trusting me first, and knowing that, like, who I am and who I want to be with in partnership in life, as a friend even, like, I'm going to be so clear on who I am and trusting that instinct within myself. So I met this human, and immediately we dove into like deep conversation about like spirituality and travel and family. And like, that was like day one, like no kids or anything like that, but day one, diving into like spirituality.
So how many kids do you want to have?
Which was like
first date. So how many kids are we going to have?
And it was just like this really connecting place as well. Like, we're both physical therapists. So immediately we started talking about how we connect with clients. And it was much more on a neurological level. It was much more on a mindset level. It was much more through breath work. And I was like, what? Like, you too? And so it was other
aliens and unicorns in the world.
Yeah. So it was like
such a different. Let's get real. Like sometimes I feel like an alien and I'm like, oh, you get it too. We're from the
Yeah.
same planet.
Exactly. And so it was like, and just like not being afraid, like, okay, this is odd.
Mm.
I really like this. And it might be too soon according to society standards, but I'm just going to lean in and kind of see what happens and just observe it and be open to what my gut is telling me. My gut is saying this feels good. So I'm going to lean in.
Wow.
And rather than like, oh, it's too soon, people are going to judge it, what are people going to think, blah blah blah, I don't care. I'm going to lean into what feels good because now I trust me. And so the more that I did that, and I was just like so unapologetic, like I was saying things that would probably scare most men away, and I was like, listen, this is what I'm looking for, listen, even when I had to tell him.
That's what I do too.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't got time to waste, sweetie. I'm 29. Like, are we alignment with our goals or
Yeah.
like, are we not? Because that was one of my biggest mistakes is in the past, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't speak up and speak my truth. And I was like,
Yes.
okay, whatever you want. And
Yep.
that's what that really resided with me when you talked about just knowing you're worthy enough. But I'm the type of person where I like to like giving. I like taking care of people. That's why I'm a coach, is because I just love nurturing people. And so sometimes I have to be like, okay, Brittany, what about you? What about you?
Mhm.
But yeah, I love that you had that strength to be like, look, this is what I want. Do we have similar goals? If not, because most women are scared. They're like,
Yep.
oh, he's going to think I'm clingy if I talk about marriage and kids and all this stuff. When it's like, no, you're going to scare away the wrong people.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's good.
Exactly.
You should scare them away because you're not
Yep.
going to waste your time if you start out of the gates like, look, these are my goals, these are my morals, this is what I want in my future, and does it align?
Yep. Exactly. And even when I had to like, there was a moment where I was like crying and I said, listen,
Mm.
I'm still on my healing journey and this has nothing to do with you. And there might be times where I get triggered, which will probably have nothing to do with you. And you don't have to walk that journey with me. You don't have to be
Ooh.
there alongside me. And
That gave me goosebumps.
And he was amazing. And he was amazing. And he was like so open. And he's always held space for anything that
Mhm.
I've been healing and working through as well. So even that, like even diving into the vulnerability of what feels scary and what I shouldn't bring up or what I shouldn't say, because what if someone can't handle it? Like put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Be you completely,
Yes.
be vulnerable and ask for what you want. And that is how I've drawn in the relationship I have.
Be you and ask for what you want. Wow. That is a powerful statement. That is a powerful statement. It's a struggle for so many people because they have these worthy programs. And
Yeah.
so I love that you speak into that. And I love that you talked about just not being jaded and just being open. I think so many people have been hurt and lied to and cheated on, and they're just so jaded. And I love that you were like, look, I'm probably going to get triggered, because most women suppress that. And most
Mm-hmm.
women are like, no, I don't want to talk about it. Like, I'm just going to deal with my stuff with my friends and my family, and my boyfriend's not going to know about it. And they have that shame and guilt around it. And I love that you just stepped into your truth and you're like, look, I'm probably going to get triggered. And you know what? That gave him the opportunity to hold space for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it gave him the opportunity to step up and be a man, and so you could build that power couple dynamics. What else could you, I guess, glimmer for the audience that want to build that power couple dynamics and build a healthy, strong, grounded relationship? What else could they do to attract people in their life that they possibly want to spend the rest of their life with?
I mean, I think it always comes back to self. Like, what are you doing in your
Mm.
own practices? What is your daily routine
Yes.
looking like? Because that shouldn't shift whether someone comes in or not. So if you don't have your
Mm-hmm.
own things set up for you, you're going to get really lost when another human comes in and they have their own practices, their own rituals, their own habits. You want to have your own as well. And maybe there can be like places where those cross, like him and I do breath work together, which has been the most grounding thing that I've created within a relationship, which is amazing because we both have that separate. And
Yeah.
so being able to like have that commonality of like, okay, this is how we can integrate this. And there's different things, like we love to work out together and do other things, but at the same time, if I can't work out, if I can't do, he's up doing his own breath work, doing his own workouts, doing his own thing, because we both have our own rituals separate from each other.
Yeah.
And then we've come together in ways that we can integrate it together. But I think you have to know where your like daily rituals are, what is most important to you, where your values are, that is not going to shift when someone else comes in.
Yeah, what keeps you independent?
Yes.
And I think that's probably one of the more attractive qualities about you in the relationship is you are independent and you are confident and you are grounded, and that you are just perfectly imperfect, and you embrace that and you own it, and you don't live in this me and Trent Shelton talked about this yesterday, which you guys have to go listen to that interview after this one. It was so powerful. But he talked about living in this prison of perfection. And I love that you just are like, you know what? I'm just human. I'm just human. Doing the best I can with what I have, showing up, trying to be a good person, work hard. And the one thing I love about you is also this humility. Like, you just, anyone that meets you can tell, like, you don't have a mean bone in your body. You're just such a sweetheart. So thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom with the audience. And I know that a lot of people really needed to hear that message. And so thank you for showing up. I mean, interviews are mentally exhausting. They take up time, and you don't have to help people like you do, and you don't have to heal people like you do. And you constantly show up for humanity, and you constantly show up for yourself, and you constantly show up for your relationship, and you're a really good example of what somebody looks like when they've done the inner work. And you're graceful, you're successful. I'm so honored to have you on here. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, love. I really appreciate your energy and what you're putting out and how you're cultivating these amazing interviews. So epic.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm so excited. It's amazing, right? And I think that everyone should have a podcast. Do you have a podcast, Jen?
Not right now. I'm on everyone.
Change that.
Yeah, right.
Seriously, we need to chat afterwards, girl, because all podcasts are just absolutely amazing, and I'll help you out. I help people launch podcasts, so be more than happy to kind of help you out in any way.
Thank you.
So we'll chat. But yeah, awesome. Did you have any other questions or any final remarks?
No, I just hope that people are able to hear this, take what they need from it, and really dive into their own bodies, and maybe even start writing, observing, like see where these principles and lessons can come into your own life.
I love that. That's amazing. So guys, if you guys found any value from this interview, take a screenshot, throw it on your story, tag me, tag Doc Jen Fit, and it's at Doc Jen Fit and at Brittany Michalchuk. And I always repost everyone. And thank you guys so much for being here. Again, I know that you guys have a lot of crazy busy things in your life, and to dedicate time to your personal development is just, it's beautiful. And I think that's why me and Jen do what we do, is to help humanity. And so we can only help you as much as you are going to help yourself. So thank you for showing up here and listening to these episodes. And if you guys are interested in learning more about Jen, go to her Instagram and go to docjenfit.com/challenge, and you will get those videos to help you with your life, to help you get alignment with your mind and body, because that's what life's about. I mean, if you're experiencing any pain, any discomfort, or if you just want to learn how to be more mobile, this program is a game changer. And so definitely go check it out. It's for free. And thank you so much for being here, Jen. Thank you to listeners for your time. And we will see you on the next episode of the Vitamin B Show.